started with our today's presentation. So thank you everybody for joining the Manufacturing User Group virtual meetup. We've got a couple of presenters today. Very excited to share this content with you all. So just some quick housekeeping. So if you need to contact me after this presentation or want to contact the group, the information is up there. We are now up to over 650 plus members. So, as we continue to grow and post content, we expect the membership to continue to grow, and we thank everybody for your participation. And so our plan, just overall this was presented a few months ago, but just to kind of revisit. So overall, the plan is to continue to grow the community with the focus on the manufacturing industry. Please definitely, ask questions, engage in discussions, and share best practices in the group. We all can learn from each other. And then we would like to continue to get back to a quarterly virtual meetup format. COVID kind of threw that all for a spin this year, but we will definitely get that back on track. So if you have suggestions for future virtual meetups or topics you would like to see, definitely feel free to reach out and share those as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to today's presenters. So first up, we've got Kyle Stokes with Unique Fabricating. He's going to talk about their Salesforce journey. And then followed by that, we will have Jenny Guy with Salesforce, who will be talking about the Manufacturing Cloud Roadmap. So if you've got questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or we can also have some live Q&A at the end as well. So with that, we'll get started.
Thank you, Delaney. As Delaney said, I'm Kyle Stokes. I'm a project manager at Unique Fabricating, and this is kind of an overview of our Salesforce journey and how we're utilizing the manufacturing cloud, and kind of what we're doing in terms of Salesforce. So we can go to the next slide. So just a little introduction to our company. Unique Fabricating was founded in 1975, so we're 45 years old. We're our main business is automotive supply. We're a tier 1 supplier to most of the OEMs. We're based out of Auburn Hills, Michigan is where our headquarters are. We have 7 facilities worldwide, 5 of them in the United States, 1 in Canada, and 1 in Mexico. Our main markets are non-metallic automotive components. We do acoustical stuff, air, water sealing, BSR, and then we're actually expanding into appliance and commercial HVAC. And then recently, thanks to COVID, we pivoted into the medical business, and then we also do consumer off-road. We got the next slide. So just a little quick impact we can talk about COVID-19 just because I thought it was a pretty cool story. So our Salesforce journey really started in January. We purchased the product and we did our first phase 1 implementation, which is just basic, opportunities, RFQs, quotes, are very was basically our starting point for Salesforce. And COVID-19 happened shortly after we started the project. And one of the first things we did with Salesforce was really pivot our complete product mixture into medical. And this is one of the products that we were able to utilize Salesforce to do all the sales and all our RFQing and pretty much document our whole journey for manufacturing to the customer with Salesforce. And this just to describe the product. It's N90. It's a niche approved N95 mask that's currently you can currently buy and use at many medical distributors, at least in the Midwest, and we're expanding that nationwide. And we had some partners that help us make this possible as well, which is really cool. So that's kind of how we utilize Salesforce at a high level to pivot really quickly to make new products, during the COVID-19 outbreak. So we can go to the next slide and I'll kind of go into more detail about our journey and then our process. So as I said before, we started our journey in 2020 and we finished our phase 1 implementation March, April, right around when just before COVID hit. And then that was the, building blocks, general opportunities, all that. And then we started our phase 2 implementation shortly after in the summer, right around July, right after July 4th. And for phase 2, we were going to utilize more of the manufacturing cloud side, which was the big pain points there for us were sales agreements, sales forecasts, and just streamlining our opportunity process and utilizing a lot more of the features in the manufacturing cloud that Salesforce offered us. And then a bit of a background is for manufacturing currently, we were on an ERP system called Plex ERP. That's is controlling all of our manufacturing process. So, producing parts, shipping parts. It's currently our accounting system of record. So right now we are using Salesforce as our CRM. And then the other part of this phase 2 project was connecting the Salesforce CRM to our Plex ERP system to get a one-piece flow system that can give data and take data, and we did that through use of APIs. So we can go to the next slide here and kind of get into the details of all our business impacts here. So the first big business impact we had was for the manufacturing cloud that was unique for us was sales agreements. And in our current system with Plex, that they have a similar product sales agreements, but it didn't have the level of detail we were looking for in that they were there, but you couldn't pull graphs, you couldn't really visualize that data. So if you have a bunch of data but you can't manipulate it easily, it's not really useful. And Salesforce allowed us to kind of do that. And you can see I put an example of one of our products and kind of what one of our sales agreements look like. One of the cool things that we were able to do in Salesforce that I mentioned was we connected to our Plex ERP. So this actual quantity is what we actually shipped, out of the facility since we're connected to Plex. We can pull that in and kind of look at, what our customers, agreed to buy versus what they're actually buying, and then utilize this in a couple other metrics to kind of forecast, how we want to buy different materials, where can we find opportunities, more opportunities with these customers, are they using our parts for something else? Like if there's a big variance. So like, for example, the reason I picked this one was to show that this has a 32% variance in part quantity. So, are our customers using it on a different platform? And if they are, since we're in automotive, most of the stuff's platform based. So, if they're using it on another platform, can we figure out what, parts they have, what other parts they might have on that platform or other customers might have on that platform that we can go after more business? So it's pretty cool for sales agreements. And then that kind of rolls into the next slide here, which is sales forecasts. Now, sales forecasts are really cool because it takes all those sales agreements, rolls it up, and then we can do stuff at like a customer basis. So for example, I think this is just forecasted revenues for a couple of our customers that we have here, and we can do them by quarters, by years, different stuff. We can also take this data and show growth trends. We can pretty much manipulate it in any way you can think and really visualize the data, which is really impressive for our business. We didn't really have that. And then another thing I forgot to mention that was really neat with the sales agreements in Salesforce is that we do a lot of our business in the automotive industry is long-term agreements where we're going to sell for a price 1 year, and then we'll give them 3% reduction in price for the next 4 years. and Plex can't handle that. It can't automatically handle that when it's doing sales agreements, where Salesforce gives us the ability to take that into account and to handle that when we're doing these forecasts, and really automatically, update the prices without having to calculate it out, make a calendar of dates where you're going to update prices and, go that route. This is way more, a lot more automated. So it was really nice for us. So those were like let's see. So variance is something we did add. That's sorry, let me read the question. So Bob asked in chat here, I've not seen variance in other manufacturing demos. Is this something custom you added? It is, and it's custom because we had if we go back a slide here, we had the planned and actual quantity. So what we wanted to see the variance between planned and actual, because we do volume pricing. So we're in non-metallics. A lot of our products are very small and cheap. You can see that, this product is 2 cents roughly. Just probably a small piece of felt that they're going to use to stop vibration in a vehicle. So, the customers to get better pricing, and this is just business in general. They'll give you a higher, they'll say, oh, we're going to buy 100,000, but they don't actually execute on it. And this gives us another way to, kind of check them on that. But yeah, that is a custom field we added. So we can go, we can go to the next slide after this. So Plex, the ERP, really cool. I'm sure you guys that are using ERPs have done a lot of this, is that using AP, in this case, we use Boomi, Dell Boomi, a third-party product to do it, but you can directly connect using APIs, Salesforce, to different ERP systems, different applications. This was huge for us because it completely streamlined our process. We're migrating more and more stuff to Salesforce to do all our management. So like customer accounts, we're going to start taking orders in Salesforce. That's currently done through Plex. We're going to try to move all our EDI orders and everything to flow through Salesforce to kind of streamline that whole process. So it was really cool that we were able to do this. And then another thing that I think is really cool that we're doing is for all you guys that are in automotive, we use IHS data. And currently right now, you get a Excel CSV spreadsheet that's, you get at some frequency, whether it's every quarter, every month, there's a frequency to it. Well, we're going to, basically import all that IHS data and use that in our forecasts, along with our sales agreements, so we can model what the OEMs actually say they're going to make versus what the suppliers say, and then we can cross-reference that to different platforms to try to see where there's more opportunity for more business, and just have a better idea of where actual volumes are going to be. So for our raw material buys, we can get better at that, better at our production runs, and just have another data point to look at. And what's really interesting is we've been kind of in some talks with IHS, and that they're now opening up their API to suppliers or people that purchase it, to where you can direct connect to their API and you don't have to upload through flat files, which is going to be really cool. And they just started doing that, so that's pretty exciting. So we can go to the next slide here. The last thing that we kind of did, this is more of just the case thing, we're evolving it, is the customer service side of the business is just as important in manufacturing. And our current customer service side, what was lacking in visibility in that the way we didn't have a centralized system to log calls, log tickets, log issues. So for us, it was really big that Salesforce had this whole service module where you can create cases, you can utilize web portals, Einstein for chat, And that's kind of one of the big things we in our phase 2 implementation, we just kind of did it internally as an IT ticket thing to IT ticketing system to test it out. But now we're going to work on a project. One of our next projects is to move this into a full, customer facing portal where they can log in. There's a issue log, there's, chat bots. We can track our SLAs on cases, make sure that we're keeping all our customers happy. So that was like another really helpful thing for our business as well. And then we go to the next slide here. And then I just had our next areas of focus that we're going to be working on Q1 starting in January. And I mentioned these a little bit. So it's going to be connecting IHS to forecasts and agreements. We're also going to be using Salesforce for a cost model. We are going to integrate our estimating and costing into Salesforce. Currently, our company is utilizing other products, whether it be people doing them out of Excel spreadsheets or, creating projects in Microsoft Project and doing cost accounting there. We're going to centralize that and create a cost model in Salesforce that our sales team can utilize. And along with this, we're doing a material database as well, so that they have some materials to reference when they're quoting products out. And that's the last slide I have. That's kind of the general overview of what we had for our implementation at Unique Fabricating and how we're kind of utilizing sales agreements and forecasting. And then I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has. I don't know if we were doing that now or at the end. I can't remember, but
We can do that now. So yeah, if anybody has questions, I know I'm on file. What would you say is the biggest lesson learned you learned with implementing manufacturing?
So the biggest lesson learned that we had was to properly map the process going in. So when we were first implementing the cloud, we had our old system, and then there was a big push to kind of take what we had in our old system, put it in Salesforce. Well, there's a lot of things that we found when we did that were broken, and we had to go back and kind of tweak a lot of things, and it slowed down development. It slowed down development a lot. That's why we didn't kick off the phase 2 till July, was because we were going back and fixing a lot of oversights that we had in just terms of flow and usage. And then it's still a learning process. So when we were implementing Salesforce too, it's really understanding the product and what you're looking to get out of it. So for example, when we were doing forecasting, we really had to, we spent a lot of time going back and reiterating on it, because it was giving us data, but it wasn't giving us the right data, right, in terms of what we needed for our business to be successful. So there's just a lot of iteration and really understanding what you want to get out of sales agreements, because they're just there's just so much data going in there. And then I see Miguel has a question here. It says, okay, for your cost model, what types of costs are you wanting to capture? Are you considering scenario analysis of volume breaks, purchasing and manufacturing across different locations, etc.? So the costs we're trying to capture are a couple of things. We need to do it by location. So since we have plants in Mexico, Canada, the US, and different parts of the US, there's different rates. So that's one big thing is we're looking at rates. We're looking at shipping costs in terms of packaging and freight, just freight in general. We're looking at volume discounts, volume breaks, long-term agreements is a big one for us. And then rebates, we also do customer rebates, which is another thing that the sales agreements can take into account that I forgot to mention is customer rebates as well. And then the big thing for us internally is we have 5 main processes. So it's basically making sure that we're properly modeling the processes in Salesforce so that we can automate a lot of the estimating, because right now we have a pretty extensive estimating department and process, and to be able to automate that and save a lot of manpower is very important to our company going into the future. All right, and then Bob had a question here. It says, in my previous company, sales are run on variances. We looked at all sorts of variances, MTD variance, year-to-date variance on both sales dollars, pounds, many more. Being able to add all these things is big. Do you do the calculations in Salesforce or do you load from external? We were not successful in doing the calculations in reports. So for variances, right now we're doing them in Salesforce, and we have a report outside that. So okay, let me step back. For initial launch, we had a report outside, and then we imported a bunch of data into Salesforce, and we were able to verify that against our report. We are running into we are running into issues where there's just a ton of data coming in terms of manufacturing, just from like all the live data, live sales and all that. And we really trimmed down the amount of data we're looking at when it comes to variances for that issue, right? I think we're only looking at just our, in terms of variance, it's just pieces. We're not looking at any raw material consumption or any of that because of the issue you're talking about. So we just really trimmed down the data sets. And then for the reports, as far as I know from our forecasting and estimating team, we haven't ran into anything where they were running into any issues with the data, there being too much data, or them not being able to do the calculations and reports. I know we had a case open with Salesforce for rounding. So the thing we did run into was, since we do small parts, our pricing actually goes out to 5 decimal places. When you mass update a sales agreement in Salesforce, you can't go out to 5 decimal places accurately. We actually had to open a case with Salesforce, and I think they said they were gonna fix it in the release in the spring. So we'll have to see if that comes out. But as a fix in the meantime, if you use the percent decrement as opposed to putting the price in, it does do the math right, but you can't input 5 decimal places to a price. If it is, I guess, what I'm trying to get at, which was kind of a weird edge case for us.
Any other questions for Kyle before we move on to Jenny? So I'm not seeing any coming in. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next portion of this presentation. Thank you so much, Kyle. And if anybody has other questions for Kyle, we'll also do a Q&A at the end of this session as well. So with that, I'll let Jenny take over and share with us about the manufacturing cloud updates and roadmap.
Thank you, Delaney, and thanks so much, Kyle, for sharing Unique Fabricating's story. I really love your story because I think it's a great example of how you're using the out-of-the-box capabilities, starting to map your business to this, and then as you're seeing the data flow in, you're like, oh, this is awesome. What else could we do? And how else could we use just the pure platform capabilities to configure things like the variants and start to create that cost modeling and materials sheets in your Salesforce views that enable you to be more proactive and allow you to do more things in your business than just what's coming straight out of the box. So the creativity and the way that you're leveraging the platform to make this a really useful tool that's specific to Unique Fabricating's business, I think is just such an awesome story. So I can't wait to see after your next phase, some of the more configured things that you're doing and how you're mapping and leveraging the IHS new API mapping capabilities to use some of that data as well. So super exciting, and thank you. All right, so what I wanted to cover today quickly is just to give an update on just the manufacturing cloud journey, what our product vision is, and probably what's most interesting to all of you is where we're kind of headed from an investment perspective. So if you go to the next slide, it's our very favorite slide, forward-looking statement. We are a publicly traded company, so please make all of your purchase decisions based on what's commercially available, since we are going to talk a little bit about roadmap and future items. So if we head to the next slide, I just wanted to give a visual of where we are. Like, if you can believe it, we just released our winter release, and that means we're full 3 or 4 releases now into Manufacturing Cloud. And, you know, we started last year in the summer with our pilot, and you can see some of the companies that piloted the initial features and helped to give a lot of the feedback that drove, I think, the enhancements that we saw in spring and summer. So we had just released last winter with the sales agreement functionality and forecasting that Kyle talked about. We also have the analytics templates that came out, as well as the ability to surface this information through our communities. I think a big theme through spring and summer was really deep listening around our early adopters, making a lot of the sales agreement and forecasting enhancements that we've seen throughout, but also continuing to add things to analytics, which is a big theme of ours. As we build out on the core data model, we always build out analytics to support that. In the summer, our big release was around account manager targets. This is really giving manufacturers the capability to take their go-to-market goals and business goals and really allocate them and distribute them throughout the sales organization, and then track and measure those. In the winter, some of the highlights, and I have a slide that goes a little bit deeper into this, the analytics around account targets, continued enhancements around sales agreements and forecasting, now the ability to surface agreements through external apps for customers that are really building out very custom partner portals, and then the rebate management that's currently in pilot and scheduled to go GA next spring. So if we go to the next slide, I just wanted to share some of the method to our madness around how we're innovating around Manufacturing Cloud. And it really is, and I think the Unique Fabricating story also is a great example of this. You know, despite its name of Manufacturing Cloud, it is not just a discrete set of objects. We're really building out a CRM for manufacturing. So think of it really as Salesforce for manufacturing. And this is really about giving manufacturers and distribution organizations all of that data and insights and transparency and native collaboration so that they can see across all of their revenue streams, use these insights for business planning, and really drive commercial excellence throughout the organization. And our vision is really built on these 4 product pillars. The industry data model, this is how we're taking some of our horizontal functionality, really creating vertical functionality so that our customers can achieve faster time to value, and really use this as a springboard to do additional configuration, but already starting from a place of an industry specific data model. And that's the foundation for the other 3 pillars. Business planning is all around aligning sales and operations, really providing that visibility across all of your revenue streams so that customers can be more proactive, and so that it's really driving that transparency and just surfacing the right data at the right time. Channel management is our third pillar, sorry. This is about extending that same native collaboration and transparency around information to your channel partners. And on top of that too, starting to be able to manage incentives as well as brand loyalty. And then the last piece, which kind of ties all of this together, is the analytics and insights. So now that all of this data is coming into Salesforce and you have a single platform of engagement across all of your teams, how do we add that native analysis in there, as well as some of our predictive capabilities, so that it's really surfacing up the right insights to the right folks at the right time and allowing you to make better business and data-driven business decisions. So we go to the next slide. This is what we released in the winter, aligned across our product pillars. So around the industry data model, this kind of gets in the weeds out there for some of the admins or program managers out there. I think we've added a lot of flexibility around sales agreements and forecasting. So now all of the users have the ability to define their own sales agreement renewal period. This is kind of a short-term fix as we think about some deep cloning capabilities. If you're familiar with sales agreements, you know that in our first iterations of the object, it was a little bit rigid. And once it was an activated status, you couldn't add new products easily, you couldn't change header information. So with the renewal, user-defined renewal periods, now you can set this to whatever your business needs. And this is kind of a short-term fix if you need to be able to clone an existing agreement to add new products or to add new versions of a SKU, which we've seen a lot of, and then be able to start the planning from a draft agreement status. The second piece is using the opportunity probability. So for customers that are using opportunities and want to feed that into their pipeline view and the account-based forecast, now you can weight the opportunity quantities and revenues by the probability, which is defined by the stage of your opportunity. The third big one, I think, is really giving our customers the flexibility to define which of the sales agreements they want to view and roll up into that account forecast. So a lot of customers, and like in the unique fabricating example too, and I think in the tier 1 and auto space, where you're managing really, really long-term customer agreements that are like 3 to 5 years in length, this allows you to say, well, we can roll up draft agreements as well, so that we can start to see more of that granular long-term planning. And then what's in pilot in the winter is opportunity product schedule support. So this allows the ability to spread out the opportunity quantities and revenue across different months. So if you are using the product schedule or the revenue schedule, we can now map that into the forecast view rather than have it as kind of a lump total based on the opportunity close date. And then channel management, I briefly covered the external app support. And I think what's really exciting is the rebate management capabilities that we're developing that are currently in pilot. If you are interested, let me know, reach out. And then on the analytics side, we've got the account manager target analytics, which gives you like a full view of both individual targets as well as team targets and kind of where the gaps are, and really looking deeply at how your team is executing against the financial targets or product targets that have been laid out. And then analytics, rebate analytics is also in pilot, and this is really about understanding the ROI of your rebate programs and really every aspect of rebate program performance. So if we go to the next slide. So here are some of the areas that we are thinking about placing our bets for future innovations. As you think about this slide, think kind of the next 3 to 4 releases out are areas that we're focusing. So in our industry data model pillar, I think we're going to continue to make sales agreements and account forecasting enhancements just to add additional flexibility to support a lot of different types of manufacturing and distribution go-to-market models. We're also going to be adding product category support. So for a lot of customers that are not planning at a SKU level, but are actually planning at a category or family level, this is something that we're looking to input into and add into Manufacturing Cloud. In the business planning pillar, we want to add visit planning. So think about this as a standardized task list that you can create for all of your sales reps, and whether they're doing virtual visits, or hopefully one day we can do in-person visits again. They have this list of tasks that they have to run through. It's really standardized, and with the maps capability, it also helps to prioritize customer visits. We want to get a little bit deeper into real-time demand collaboration with customers and with partners, thinking about building in a place where a distribution partner or a customer can actually input and edit what they view as their forecast, so that you just have a tighter connection with your customers and partners. And then as we start to get this data in and build out kind of pricing and volume analytics, we want to find a better way to leverage those to help customers more proactively plan their business, set targets, and also make any adjustments that they need. So thinking about this year with COVID, actually having that data to be able to pivot when needed so that businesses stay really agile. We'll be going GA with rebate management plan for the spring release next year. And we're also developing partner loyalty, which you can think as the other side of the coin, which is really about managing non-monetary and more experiential programs that help to create better brand stickiness. And then in the analytics pillar, the rebate analytics, as I mentioned, which is going to give you a lot of out-of-the-box capabilities to measure the performance and just slice and dice every aspect of ROI from rebate programs. And then I think what's really exciting is leveraging more of the predictive capabilities that we have in our analytics platform, which I guess is now called Tableau for CRM. And one of the areas that we're looking to invest in are these what if analyses. So as you start to get historical performance data into Salesforce, this is going to provide the capability for customers to actually test out different scenarios and actually be able to pull different levers before they put a program in place. So I think those are all the slides that I had. Oh, sorry, rebates. So this is in pilot actively. If you are interested in learning more, please let me know. And what we're building out for rebates is really the management of the entire rebate program, lifecycle of the program. Everything from setting up the program to defining the eligibility criteria and kind of the rules and the rebate tiers, assigning customers to those programs, and then actually tracking the transactions and doing the calculation for the rebate payout. So what we wanted to do is create a really flexible data model to do this so that we can take and model a lot of different types of programs, whether they be changing in length, number of customers, or the types of transactions that are kind of measured for rebate payouts. As we thought about this, we wanted to keep an eye out on transparency. So a lot of customers that are managing these rebate programs today, they mentioned that sales really doesn't have a lot of visibility into where their customers are at and performing. So think about a customer that's maybe almost at the next rebate tier, and the sales rep has very limited visibility into that. And if they did have visibility, they could take proactive action and actually have a conversation with the customer and say, hey, if you increase your sales by this much, you would actually get into the next rebate payout tier that gives you more money back. And then similarly, on the flip side, partners really don't, and channel partners and customers really don't have a lot of that visibility either to see where they are in progression in that rebate program. So we want to be able to extend that visibility as well. And then lastly, like I mentioned, everything that we build from a core data model perspective is always going to have analytics on top of that. So we really want to make this an intelligent experience, allow someone to really look at all of the different data aspects and metrics around measuring rebate performance, being able to then recommend rebates based on different customer attributes. And again, like I said, starting with that what if analysis as we build that out to start to drive different levers to see how they might impact business performance and rebate performance. And this definitely is my last slide.
Thank you, Jenny, for sharing that roadmap. I definitely think the data and analytics piece and the continued evolution of manufacturing cloud is definitely going to benefit the manufacturing industry as a whole. Are there, so we do have a question coming in. What pillar and innovation on the roadmap do you think will bring the most value to customers, and what are you most excited about?
I think it's definitely the analytics and insights pillar. We have run a lot of manufacturing executive roundtables, and I've had the pleasure to talk to a lot of different manufacturers in the space. And I think a big theme that we see that's really highlighted by COVID is our customers who really want to have a better handle on their data and use that to make data-driven decisions. And I think if you are at all familiar with our analytics platform, and now that we have Tableau, and I think the ability to bring a lot of different data streams that we wouldn't normally see in kind of the CRM space, this is going to be just a game changer in helping customers really understand their business and really understand the story that that data is telling them.
Great, and I definitely agree. Coming from a manufacturing background previously, data was a huge piece that was sometimes difficult to fully understand, and having visibility in the visual and the analytics and Tableau was definitely beneficial to that. Are there any other questions for Jenny, or even questions for Kyle that we might have missed earlier or that you've thought of during the rest of the presentation?
Yeah, I got one from Bob as well around visit planning and whether it will leverage multiple objects or just planning schedule. So for an example, is it going to be opportunities, tasks, etc.? And then what about custom object example samples? So the best place that I would point you to, visit planning is actually already built out. It is currently GA in our consumer goods cloud product. And what we want to do is leverage that same data model and include things that and tasks that manufacturers would want to utilize. So for example, one of the tasks might be taking a look at the sales agreement and reviewing that with your customer, taking a look at inventory and things like that. So it is multiple objects, or it's actually a pretty built out data model that has kind of that planning schedule. There's also a maps component to it, as I mentioned, which is more about prioritizing customers to visit and route scheduling, etc. But it is a pretty generic object and horizontal object right now. But if you do want more information, I would recommend going to the Consumer Goods Cloud page and looking at visit planning there, because that's the data model that we want to replicate with Manufacturing Cloud.
Great. Any other last minute questions? Okay, not seeing any coming in. So with that, I wanted to thank everybody. Thank you again to Jenny and Kyle for your wonderful presentations. Kyle, for your use case of Manufacturing Cloud and Salesforce, and especially how COVID impacted that and you were able to pivot your business. And then Jenny, for giving us a look into the future with Manufacturing Cloud and what we can expect next. So in closing, this session was recorded, so we will share this out in the Manufacturing User Group after the fact. And if you have any questions, like we've said previously, feel free to reach out. And if you're interested in any of those pilots, definitely reach out to Jenny as well. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.